It is Tuesday, June 6th, and the Give and Go Show is back in your life. My name is Griffin Queen, and as always, I'm joined by Matt Modi and Matt Ferentinos for another weekly episode of everyone's favorite basketball show. Before we jump into it, if you're watching this on YouTube, click the like button, make sure you subscribe, and comment below about who you think is going to win the NBA Finals or which celebrity slash NBA player relationship you like the most. There's going to be a reason I'm leading into something with that one. And if you're listening to us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or Stitcher or any other podcast listening platform, make sure you click the follow button, make sure you rate and review, and share us with your friends so they can tune into future episodes. We're 3 games into the NBA Finals. Game 3 is Wednesday night. But before we talk about the NBA Finals, where the Heat and the Nuggets are tied 1-1, breaking news from Matt Ferentinos.
Ding, 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 ding.
I need to say it again, Matt. Tell us what you just told me, because I can't believe what I just heard.
Well, I mean, there's some very famous Los Angeles Lakers that have been in the news lately. I know a lot of people are talking about it. It's not the Kyrie Irving reaching out to LeBron James. It's actually Taylor Swift sliding into Austin Reeves' DMs. I think they were spotted in LA.
She slid into his DMs? That can't be true.
I don't know if that's how it started. I just know that they apparently have been seen together.
I think Julia can hear me from upstairs in the house because she texted me they broke up. I guess in reference to who Taylor Swift was dating prior to Austin Reeves.
Yeah, the 1975 dude, I think.
How old is Austin Reeves and how old is Taylor Swift?
Isn't his name like something Healy or something like that?
It's Maddie something, I think.
Maddie Healy?
Yeah, Maddie Healy.
That feels right.
So let's see.
Taylor Swift's like our age. I think she was born in like the early 90s.
Taylor Swift spotted with NBA player after split with Matt Healy. Let's see where they were spotted together.
The important stuff.
Get her age while we're at it.
In Arkansas bar this weekend. Apparently it was his brother Spencer Reeves that was calling attention to it or something like that. So I guess
if my sibling, which would be weird because I only have a sister, was dating Taylor Swift, I would certainly be calling attention to it as well.
Or the male equivalent of Taylor Swift. I don't know what that would be, like
if
Justin
you're Patrick
Timberlake.
Mahomes,
Who's the male equivalent?
Kanye West.
Kanye is the male equivalent of Taylor Swift.
There's an argument that could be made.
He wouldn't be famous if it wasn't for him.
God, who's the male? I don't know if there is a who's the One Direction guy whose name
Chris Hemsworth. What's his face? Joe? No, not
Zayd.
It could be a Jonas. I guess Jonas could be the male equivalent.
Nick Jonas. Nick Jonas is the good one, right? Nick Jonas is the attractive one.
Nick and Joe, I think both are.
But Joe's like the virgin, right? Or like the.
I don't think any of them are virgins. They're in their 30s and they're all married.
Who's the one married to
But
Sansa?
Mickey Mouse won't let him fuck, right?
The one who's married to Sansa is the one who Sansa is. I think that's Joe.
That is Joe. That is Joe Jonas.
And then the other one of them's married to Priyanka Chopra.
That's
who's
Nick.
the one that was in? He was in that the World War II movie. I can't remember the name.
That wasn't a Jonas. That was the One Direction guy.
No, it was a Jonas.
Was it?
Harry Styles?
Harry Styles is who I was trying to think of. Harry Styles is probably the closest thing to a
no
movie.
one can think of this guy. It's Kevin Jonas.
He was in Midway. He didn't have a huge role.
Kevin Jonas is. I thought it was in Mandalorian. It was. Mandalorian.
Was a Jonas brother in Midway? because Harry Styles was in.
It was Nick Jonas.
It called? Harry Styles was in
that Olivia Wilde movie, right?
Well, yes, but he was also in
Flow.
Guy that did Dark Knight, Christopher Nolan, Dunkirk. Harry Styles was in
Dunkirk. Yeah, I never saw that one.
Yeah,
love Dunkirk. That was great.
Both strikingly handsome men.
Yeah, we're not talking about basketball. We're talking about celebrity relationships. That's what this pod is now.
Well, hey, Austin
Reeves,
good
for Taylor Swift.
Have to sign for $100 million and then maybe get a few bill if you can get that Taylor Swift relationship.
Get that alimony.
If he's getting $100 million, he's not going to be with the Lakers. And
they're going to match every offer reportedly up to $100 million. That's what I heard.
The highest that he can get is 98.6, I think, from the Lakers. If they give him that, they're done. Like, that's it. There's just no room to make any other moves at that. I'm not knocking Austin Reeves in the current NBA. That's likely what he deserves.
Yeah.
But that's a poison pill, man. That's a problem. You need to
I
get
feel like
him
it's
to
like
accept like 80 million.
there was an overcorrection moment when like I remember when Trevor Ariza signed like a stupid deal. Like I feel like there are guys that just like do well and get the spotlight because they're great role players and just like because the market dictates them making a lot of money, like they're gonna get paid. But
Dude,
yeah,
there are guys that don't do well and get fucking paid. Look at the
yeah,
Wizards 2016 signings. Andrew Nicholson,
Yahimi.
Jan Mahimi, and Jason Smith combined made like $60 million.
Yeah,
who's
that
the first guy's name?
2016.
Andrew Nicholson got
Andrew.
waived that season.
Yeah, that 2016 free agency is like, I mean, it was the Luol Deng, the Timothy Mozgov,
Timothy Mozgov. Yeah.
Jan Mahimi. There's some like, was that the Chandler Parsons year as well?
It was Chandler Parsons, I think, was the previous year. And like, look, the thing with Chandler Parsons is
He was
there's an
good.
argument to make where it makes sense if he doesn't immediately get grievously injured. Like,
Yeah.
I get the Chandler Parsons thing because he was a good, productive basketball player. Jan Mahimi at his absolute peak was a backup big. Andrew
Yeah.
Nicholson never learned how to play basketball. And Jason Smith was a slow, flat-footed 7-footer who couldn't get rebounds, but who could occasionally stroke a three, but like couldn't do anything else. And like Brooke Lopez can do that too, but he also does everything else.
Great defender.
And
And
the
Timothy
Wizards
Mozgov.
signed 3 of those guys in the same offseason.
Yeah, and Timothy Mozgov had like a below average NBA finals, but because it was in the finals, he got paid. Yeah.
Yeah, he got like a Tristan Thompson thing. And I mean Tristan Thompson better than Timothy Mozgov.
His was actually good. Yeah.
But he deserved that money, but it became bad money pretty quickly.
Yeah.
You guys want to talk about the finals?
Yeah, I think Austin Reeves will become bad money pretty quickly.
I mean,
you think he will?
I don't think he will.
I don't think he will either. No, I think Austin Reeves is genuinely one of those guys who's on a progression where, you know, if he was 5 years older, I don't think you necessarily want to give him this contract, pushing 30. He's like 23. He's got a super active physical style. He plays decent defense and he can get a bucket on anybody. You might as well, you know, kind of see what you can get from him.
He is older. Sorry, real quick. For a second year, he's a second year player, right?
He's 23 or 24, right?
He's 25. He just turned 25.
He just turned 25. Yeah, because I think he did a full college stint. He switched colleges at one point.
Yeah, and then he had like the COVID year, so he stayed an extra year. I think he had an extra year of eligibility. So yeah, he's just an older. Like 25 is like Jason Tatum's age, and Jason Tatum's in the NBA for like 10 years.
I mean, you've got a little bit of the same problem with him that you have with Rui Hachimura, who's another older, technically young player in the league, where you're going to pay both these guys big money this offseason, and you're going to kind of hope for a lot of development for them. But towards the end of their contract, they're both going to be pushing 30.
And Hachimura is also 25. He's at least had longer career, but yeah.
But he had a longer career with the Wizards. Like I'd rather still be in college than play for the Wizards.
He's not a second year in the NBA.
Yeah, sure.
You went to ASU, so I mean that definitely.
Rui Hachimura went to Gonzaga.
No, I was saying if you would rather go to ASU
me?
than be on the Wizards.
Yeah. We were talking about before we got started. We were talking about the Laker effect in relation to Austin Reeves dating Taylor Swift, and I said if Kelly Oubre had played for the Lakers, he'd be the most famous person on earth. If Kelly Oubre had gone to Arizona State University, he would have become an STD.
He'd be like Antonio Cromartie. He'd have like 13 children with 11.
He'd have so many kids.
Yeah.
Oh, my sweet
Nick
Kelly.
Cannon syndrome.
Yeah, Nick Cannon's is a choice. Nick Cannon like genuinely believes it's like his destiny to have a bunch of children. He's like arguably dumber Elon Musk. I don't know.
Maybe a smarter one. Idiocracy happen in real time with all these people having. Yeah,
I don't feel good about it. Let's talk about basketball. You guys want to talk about basketball?
Speaking of idiocracy, my NBA takes.
Yeah, I mean, look, you wanna hash this one out now that we're on.
Well, I was just saying, you know, like it's Griffin was all on his high horse because the Heat won a close game where the Nuggets easily could have sent it to OT and still won. I mean, I definitely thought, Michael Porter Jr. had a fucking awful game, which I had said is like key to the Nuggets not playing that well. Things kind of went their way. And I think the Nuggets they're like outthinking themselves, I think, or like overthinking it. Like, what has been the Heat's strength? Yes, Jimmy Butler has risen up and beaten them teams on occasion. But
the strength has been their zone defense.
The zone on defense, but I'm also talking just like how the Heat generate offense. I think Denver on the defensive end is really hurting themselves by trying to like help on Jimmy Butler like he's like LeBron James in the post with the shooting guard. Like, yeah, Jimmy Butler can bully you and get a, bucket inside, but I'd rather him work hard for a layup, which he's been missing a lot of contested and easy shots in the past few games.
His
instead of
ankles,
being able to like,
I feel like his ankle is definitely still jacked up.
And I think he's gassed in general.
Yeah. Well, which is what happened last time he went to the finals.
It's like, why are you letting them swing it to Max Strus for an open, easy shot when you know that they're going to try to get their role players shooting again? Like, I just think they already gave the Heat a lot of opportunities in game one, and then just were guarding Jimmy Butler and are being so wary. Like, yes, he's a good player that can take over, but he even talked about how the biggest strength is the teammates around him. So, like, why are you giving them opportunities to get easy shots? I feel like if they just played a simpler defense and didn't try to overthink all the switches, they wouldn't have these issues. I also think Denver needs to run a little more. Playing at the slower pace definitely helps Miami.
Yeah, but well, yeah, I mean, it's.
I still think they're 1-4-1.
Okay, well, I just want to say, why Griffin's, you guys want to know to the listeners out there, the millions and millions of listeners out there, why Griffin's on his high horse? Because coming out of game one, I sent a text in the Give and Go group chat between the three of us, my two good buddies. And I said, I feel better coming out of this game about the Heat winning at least one game. That's all I said. And Matt Ferentinos responds and basically in a series of texts calls me an idiot and then says, I'm saying guaranteed sweep. That is the only reason I'm on my high horse, because he guaranteed a sweep and 2 days later was wrong. The most immediate game afterwards, I was right. He was wrong.
I feel like
I don't know. It might have been 3 days. Right, because there's 3 days in between games.
So it's 2 days after. So it's like,
So
yeah,
one was Thursday.
I texted you guys at like probably 1 a.m. my time. You responded the next day. Yeah. And then 2 days later was the next game. So I don't know why this is the thing that we're trying to hash out right now. The point is, I was right. Ferentinos was wrong. Modi had the most balanced take among us. But honestly, Ferentinos is now saying 4-1. Like, we'll see if he guarantees this one too.
Yeah, I was just in the mood where I was just arguing for the sake of arguing. Like, I argued your point.
You called me a moron.
Did I call you? I don't think I called you a moron.
You said I'm saying you're a guaranteed moron, and then you said JK.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. That sounds like me. And then Ferentinos disagreed with you, so then I started arguing with him. I just wanted to play. I was like Russillo, I'll just play both sides.
You guys definitely
playing permanent quarterback.
Yeah,
this was exactly. This was the problem with me texting late at night, what I had originally said. You guys woke up and had like conversation about it. And I woke up and I was like, oh, there's 70 texts on my phone about my one message.
Yeah.
Well, you're an idiot.
That's what happens. That's what happens.
That's true. That's true. It's unrelated, but it's true. I said that Ben Simmons was going to be Defensive Player of the Year this year. So like my idiot takes, they exist.
Well, hey, you see Ben Simmons posted a picture of him, a still shot of him dribbling a basketball today?
A still shot of him dribbling? I could do that.
It was not a video.
Was it like a carry? Did he have like his hand?
And he wasn't shooting, but it was him like in a 3-point stance holding a basketball. So that it's like the stages of a Ben Simmons offseason. We get pictures, then he'll start shooting.
Yeah,
he's touching a basketball.
We'll get some shooting videos soon of him.
Right hand, perfect form,
looking like an actual NBA player, and then the season will start, and Ferentinos is going to be depressed again because he's still on the Nets, right?
Yeah,
they weren't able to offload that. Yeah,
we're gonna get Dame, so it's all good.
Yeah,
see. I was listening to Russillo and Simmons try and like litigate the Dame thing. I don't think anyone's getting Dame.
Wait, what is the Dame thing? I think
there's been a lot of reports about
so they got the third
going
pick.
to Brooklyn.
It seems like they're going to get Scoot. There's no really way to make Scoot and Dame and Simons and Shaedon Sharpe all work together on the court at the same time, right? But Dame is owed $200 million over the next 3 years, something like that. He's about to be on the wrong. I think he's like 33.
He's old.
And this is not me knocking Dame because he's still incredible, but basically any team that would want to trade for him, he doesn't fit their timeline, or they don't have the assets or the money to afford him. So it's like there are, there's 10 teams that would do great with Dame, but they can't afford him. And then there's 10 teams that would do great with a really big expiring contract, but they already have a lot of draft picks. So the big question is like, why would anyone do this just to bail Portland out if there's no value for them? And I don't really have like a thought on it yet. I feel like it's going to end up being the Heat or something like that. They're going to figure out a way.
Trade the third pick.
They're also talking about trading the third pick, but then it's like, so you trade the third pick for somebody to pair with Simons and Dame and potentially a healthy Nurkic and Sharp. And then what's the goal there? The play-in?
Yeah,
like
what does that get?
We've already seen what happens there when it's two undersized guards and Nurkic, who's probably going to play 45 games. Like, this is not a contender. If this was the Nuggets that had a pick or something like that, and they were able to trade it for more help for their superstar, sure, it makes a lot of sense. But we know what this team is. They're the Wizards of the West. Like, that's as far as they're going to go.
But the Wizards of the West have made a conference finals in their recent history.
That's true.
So that's too mean to the Blazers.
You're right. It was a little too mean to the Blazers.
Didn't they get swept in that conference finals?
Yeah. Oh yeah. They were leading. I'm pretty sure they were leading.
That was the game winner against.
They have
Clippers,
the same
right?
number of wins in the conference finals.
That is true.
As the Wizards do recently, but I will give them
that is
credit.
true.
They have been. They've absolutely been better teams.
Well, because that was the year when Dame hit the game winner over Paul George, said there's no bad shot, and then was it the Warriors who just swept them after that? Yeah.
They beat the Nuggets in the second round, but I feel like the Blazers are watching the Heat and the Lakers in the play-in. Like, that could be us if we just get a chance. That could be us, even though we both know that it's not. For all three of us.
I mean, I can see a reality where the Heat or the Knicks could potentially make it happen, but there's just like so few teams where Dame is simultaneously a value add and they have the assets to make it work.
Yeah, but then you get like Dame and Brunson is like another undersized backcourt. It's the same thing. Anyways,
which feels like a Knicks strategy. Also, before we continue, if you're watching the video podcast this week, please take note of Modai's facial hair because the guy looks great.
I got a haircut yesterday.
I can't look away from him. I'm just trying to follow the edges of this thing.
Yeah, well, I don't normally do it. Like, I got a haircut yesterday, but still feels like a hat day. But yeah, the guy for no extra cost did my beard too. So I was like, sure, I'm not going to stop you if you want to shave trim my beard.
Love that for you. Yeah, I usually say no to that just because I pretty much just shave mine off and then let it grow and then shave it off. But I would like to get my beard done at some point the next time it gets like longish.
Yeah, I don't really put that much effort into it. I just trim it every like month.
Yeah. That's where I'm at. I get lazy. I start to look a little bit homeless, and then it's time to get rid of it.
Literally, that's exactly it.
Yeah.
So NBA Finals. The Nuggets are
1-1.
Still heavily.
The
favored.
Heat are the first team to beat the Nuggets during this playoff run on their home court. Obviously close game. Not going to pretend like they were dominant or anything like that. It could have been a very, very close to being a game that needed to go to overtime if they get that 3 off well.
Then Duncan Robinson 10-0 run in the fourth.
Duncan Robinson really earning his contract with this playoff run.
Yeah.
For a guy who's basically been a DNP for a year and a half to be giving the contributions that he's given. I mean, it's Spo, but it's also Duncan. It's also Jimmy Butler setting up his teammates. It's Bam taking an insane number of really, really hard defensive assignments where you're able to have guys like Duncan Robinson on the court and you're able to make it work. I'm very impressed by this Heat team. I still don't think they're going to win it, but I'm really impressed by them.
I don't think there's anyone that's thinking they're going to win until they win. And I think that's still true, which is what makes them amazing. But like,
we've been saying that about them since the play-in.
I know, but like the Nuggets don't have anyone hurt. Like they kind of ran through the Bucks without Giannis. He did come back, but he was still hurt. And then the Knicks just were gassed. Brunson got hurt. I mean, the Celtics was probably their most impressive one, but like their young superstars have been known to not play well. And then Tatum got hurt in Game 7. So they've had
how many more years are we going to call them their young superstars?
Well, Jason Tatum they're not even 25 yet. Yeah.
What's his name? It's like 27 though. Jaylen Brown. Yeah. I mean, yes, they're young. They're young in real world terms, but like they're in their NBA primes. Jason Tatum's probably at the beginning of his prime. Jaylen Brown should be firmly into his prime at this point, which is very problematic because he can't dribble.
Yeah, they do have a lot of playoff experience combined too. So they're not like young in that sense. Like they do have a lot of postseason experience there. But I I just think this is like the Nuggets are healthy. They've been cruising through the playoffs. Like, if anything, I'm just curious if they'll look like they're going to shake any rust or if this is just what the Heat does to teams. Because I still really feel like the Nuggets haven't clicked yet in either of the two games.
Yeah, that's what I saw someone say on Twitter. That was that like Michael Malone was like, we just haven't been playing like ourselves. And then
Mhm.
someone commented on that and was like, that's just what the Heat do to you.
Yeah, I
To
think
me,
it's probably a combination of the two.
yeah, to
Yeah.
me, like my instant reaction is like the Jesse Pinkman meme, like they can't keep getting away with this because the Heat, like you watch a game, a full four quarter game, and the Heat win one quarter of that of the 4 quarters,
The
and
fourth
that's the
quarter.
one quarter that wins them the game. Like against
Yeah.
the Bucks, it was like 3 straight fourth quarters they were down double digits and then won. This past game was the same thing, and then this was only really game one against the Celtics, but they lost every quarter except for game or the third quarter of game one against the Celtics, and then they won that game overall. And they get these like random different role player like boosts. Like game four, as you mentioned, was Duncan Robinson, or sorry, game two was Duncan Robinson, and then it was Gabe Vincent had a huge game in games 1 and 2. They had a huge Max Strus game in game two as well.
And then
He was
Caleb
cold in game one.
Martin.
Caleb Martin was cold, and then he came up. He had like a huge 3-pointer in game. And I keep saying game four, I mean the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
And then you look at like the overall stats, and they shot 55% from three in the fourth. They shot 70% just below from the field in the fourth. And you watch that, and it's like that in and of itself is unsustainable. And then they do that every single series. So it's like you at some point you can't keep saying that it's unsustainable because they've sustained it for an entire playoff run.
Yeah.
And KCP having awful fouls and just like the Nuggets playing undisciplined.
KCP looked really, really awful in game two.
Yeah.
Michael Porter Jr.
Have you guys seen the Heat point differential through each quarter?
Yeah, it's like -1, -3, like -1, and then like +90, right? Like it's like crazy.
That was very close. -1 in the first, -11 in the second, -12 in the third, +90 in the fourth.
God damn.
Like they are a historically great fourth quarter team.
And like to me, that feels like an outlier because that keeps happening.
I mean, it is an outlier.
But I mean,
there's no way to account for that because it's also like they're a 34% 3-point shooting team in the regular season that's shooting 42% from three this postseason. Like they're a team that does not shoot well, that is shooting well. And like you said, like we keep expecting for them to regress to the mean, but maybe this is a better representation of who they are. I don't know. And I mean, you know, Tyler Hero might be coming back tomorrow. Is that going to be a negative or a positive for them? Because he's not going to have, you know, he's going to be rested compared to a lot of the team, but he's also going to be coming off a major hand injury, and he's not going to have played for a month and a half.
So do you think
he is the best shooter on their team that's not Duncan Robinson?
Yeah.
And yeah, his defense is a problem as well, but I think that's a little overblown because there's a lot of guys on this team that have bad defense that Butler and Bam and Gabe Vincent are kind of covering for.
Yeah. Yeah. And the Heat shooting thing is interesting because last year they shot incredibly well. This year, I remember we did a podcast like either right around the All-Star break about like what's wrong with the Heat. And the answer was literally everybody on the Heat was having a down shooting year, every single person. So you wonder, was it just one of those years where nobody could get it going and then they all are now getting it going in the regular season? Because I mean, I think Russillo was beating this drum, but there's nothing in the analytics to suggest this run was coming, except for the fact that literally everybody is now shooting above what they shot in the regular season. And
yeah, I mean, we're
essentially
at the point where we're taking this regular season compared to last year's regular season and saying that this regular season may have been regression from them in last year. Like this playoff run is much more in line with who they were last year.
Correct.
So maybe it was just like a really, really weird long-term blip because it was weird that they were as bad as they were this regular season. But we also, prior to the season, I think we all said we can see them being bad in the regular season and being really good in the playoffs because that's kind of the team that they are at this point. Kyle Lowry's super old. Bam is undersized against a lot of centers. Jimmy Butler doesn't really give a shit about the regular season. Tyler Hero and all these other guys, like they're young, talented players, but they're not all-stars. Like they're not going to carry you to 55 wins a season just based on their talent. there's going to be a book written about this Heat run, and it's not even going to be just this year. It's going to be probably starting with like Jimmy Butler's acquisition and the finals trip in the bubble, and then everything that happened.
Scandal, the Miami Heat PED story in 2023.
Yeah, the same thing that happened. The same thing that happened with the Orlando Magic when Dwight and those guys went to the finals.
It's going to be called Heat Culture. That's what the book's going to be called.
Yeah, I mean that's going to be Spo's like biography.
Ted Lasso way
is going to be.
Oh yeah. I mean, Pat Riley writes a note. It's the Heat culture. It's always been that
don't
way.
call it that. Yeah, yeah.
Pat Riley, sneaky argument for best executive ever.
Would you see the pardon my take? They said he's been a part of 25% of all NBA finals. If you include coach,
between Lakers, Knicks, and Heat.
Yeah. A quarter of all NBA finals.
Pretty sure he has an ownership stake in the Heat as well that he got when he like came over as their like president or GM or whatever it was. Like that was one of his conditions. The Knicks let him out of his contract early, and he came to the Heat for like an unprecedented number at the time. And I'm pretty sure part of that number was an ownership stake. But Pat Riley just getting the bag.
Yeah, that guy, he looks like a mafia boss too when you look at him on the sideline.
Yeah.
Speaking of getting the bag, Bradley Beal is owed $207 million over the next 4 years.
I know what you're talking about.
I know that was mean.
I saw it on the NBA subreddit, and I liked that whoever it was, literally to make sure that the title fit or whatever, so that it used up enough characters, they spelled out every part of the number.
Yeah.
Oh my God. It's just so frustrating.
Again, I also saw in there, that was cool though, just
Blazers East
culture. Oh yeah.
One thing that I'm curious your guys' take on is like the whole Jokic. Did they like Miami turned him into a scorer and that's why the Heat won? Because I had I tweeted about it because I feel like that's just like the dumbest lazy analysis. You just
it's
look
reductive.
At the box score.
Because didn't you say that the Nuggets just missed their shots? Like if they just made the shots that they took,
they had an offensive. So someone made a good point in rebuttal to my point. Like they had an offensive rating of 124.1, which would have led the NBA by a mile. It would have been like a historically good offense. And then some guy responded to me and said, if you isolate it to the minutes where Jokic was on the court, that is down to only 110, which would have been below average. So his argument was like, if you take out the hot shooting of the second quarter, then the Nuggets did actually have a below average game. My thought is the bigger story here is the 36 points in the fourth quarter, like that the Heat scored. That Jokic obviously played well. I thought the Nuggets offense looked good. Like Michael Porter Jr. was terrible. That was a huge thing. Aaron Gordon kind of slowed down in the second half after like I think maybe it was the last game I'm thinking of where he had a hot start. But regardless, like offensively, I thought they looked really good. And if your off defensive strategy is let Jokic score 40 and give up like almost 110 points, like in the NBA Finals, that's probably a losing strategy, is my thought.
Yeah, I think
it's. Yeah, go ahead, Ferentinos.
I know. I was just gonna say, like, I was listening to some just people breaking down game 2 and we're talking about this as well. Cause when you take him off the court, which could be to them maybe picking the pace up when Jokic is off just to help it like generate some offense in that way. But I feel like even in game 1, you saw Jokic in the second half start to shoot a little more. I think it's the finals and he knows that. I think he'd rather trust himself. And if he is getting good looks to just put him up. So I think it is kind of a combination. I think I'm with you though. It's more just, they were awful on defense and like second chances where the Heat got some offensive rebounds, like just killer moments and just, like mental lapses. Like why, if you're going to contest the 3, are you like going out of your way to like lunge after these guys when it's like, just put a hand up and contest. Don't like completely either foul them as they're shooting or just be out of place so then they could swing the ball and just get a free open look.
In the last point, before Griffin, you respond, I feel like Aaron Gordon can probably handle Jimmy Butler one-on-one. He's like the only person in the NBA is probably strong enough to handle Jimmy Butler. And this was from Zach Lowe's podcast, but if you isolate possessions where Jokic touched the ball in the post, the Nuggets scored over 2 points per possession, which is unheard of. That's like
in the post. That's crazy.
It would be the most efficient offense of all time.
But like they would have doubled the most efficient offense. It's like granted, I think he calculated only 7 or 9 post touches, so they need like the Heat props in the Heat for not letting him touch the ball a ton in the post. But the offense worked, is my point. Anyway, sorry, I just want to get that. Griffin, your thoughts?
Yeah, no. So I had said it a little bit at the beginning. I think it's a reductive take, but there is an element of the take that, I mean, Steve Kerr said the same thing. Like this is not a take that people are just taking from casual fans or from hot take artists like Kendrick Perkins or whoever. Like this is definitely a strategy. And I saw an interesting stat, and I'll read it off to you guys. Jokic in game one had 17 passes that led immediately to a shot. In game one, he had 14 assists. So of those 17 passes, 14 out of 17 led to a scored shot. In game two, he only had 11 passes that led to a shot. Granted, obviously his assists were lower from there, but that's 6 less shots that immediately led, or passes that immediately led to a shot. So there is a reduction in the amount of offensive opportunities that he was setting up for his teammates. It was, about 60% compared to what it was in game one. I don't know how much of that is the Heat's, the way that they're playing defense on him. I don't know how much of that is them specifically saying, let Jokic have his, and let's take Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray and Aaron Gordon and KCP or Braun or whoever else the other guy is on the court out of it. I think there's obviously levels to this, but this has kind of been the story on the team since 2020 when the majority of this core first came together. It was let Jokic get his, because he's gonna get his, even when he was a worse scorer back then. I mean, he was still an incredible scorer, but he wasn't what he is now. And let a point guard take all these shots. Let Jamal Murray take them. Put Jamal Murray under double coverage as often as you can. Make him work way harder. And we've seen Murray gas out late in games a lot more than we've seen Jokic do it. If you're forcing Murray into bad shots the entire time, even if you end up losing the game, that's probably the best strategy that you're going to come up with, because putting Jokic under double coverage, it doesn't work. Like he's going to find the pass every single time. It's not going to work the way it does on Embiid. It's not going to even work the way it does on Kevin Durant. Like doubling him is the absolute wrong strategy. So yeah, put him under single coverage, let him shoot. It's a miss or make league. Like if he shoots below 60%, that's a good day, which is insane to say, but like that's where he's at right now. And you kind of have to live with him getting his 40. Granted, I mean, if he has one more assist in this game, it's a tie ball game and it goes to overtime. So like the margin of error for that strategy is so minuscule. I think it's likely what they're going to try and do in Miami. They're probably going to switch up some of the coverages. You gotta force KCP and Michael Porter Jr. to have bad games, and you got to force the ball to go to them a lot, because that's ideal.
Yeah, I guess my argument isn't that he shot more and he passed less. My argument is more so, I don't necessarily think that was a successful strategy, because like make Jokic score works when
it's only a successful strategy because they won.
Because they scored 36 points if they scored 30,
if they score 3 less points and the Nuggets score 1 more point, then
nobody's talking about
this, and we're not talking about it being a good strategy. Exactly right. I mean, we're all results oriented.
Yeah,
like,
I guess that's,
people look at games and they look at the results. They don't look at the process, which obviously you're a big process guy.
Gotta trust it.
Gotta trust the process. And that's just how everybody really consumes sports. I mean, I don't think I don't know if there's a perfect strategy for him. Like there obviously isn't. And I don't think the Heat have the personnel for the perfect strategy, because it would probably include a genuine center more that you're able to put on the court with Bam. But, they're doing okay. I mean, game 1 was close. Game 2 was close. We'll see what they can do in Miami. If they can steal one in Miami, like they've already shown they can win in Denver. Do I think they're going to do it again? Probably not. But they've done it already.
Michael Porter Jr. does shoot better on the road, so maybe he'll play a little better in Miami.
I always find I find it so interesting when guys shoot better on the road. I wonder.
Porter Jr. was terrible. Like
he was bad. He was really bad. He was second guessing himself.
And he left multiple wide open shooters. Like you could tell Michael Malone was just, or at one point just got him off he made a dumb defensive rotation. He just got him off the floor.
Like, he should start Bruce Brown over him.
You should start Bruce Brown. I genuinely agree with you on that.
They were closing out games with Brown in the lineup, and I've always loved him since the Nets days. I just think he makes the smart play, kind of like Jokic.
I think Michael Porter Jr. is the better option for this team in most scenarios, but there's just so much more variance to his game than there is to Bruce Brown's. And I think Bruce Brown does more stuff that wins ball games than, like, Michael
Bruce
Porter
Brown
Jr.
knows he's not
has
a
been a
one.
really great rebounder recently after being a pretty average rebounder his entire career. But again, that's a lot of variance. It's how much is Jokic giving up rebounds to him? Whereas Bruce Brown gets more offensive rebounds than you'd expect from somebody his size. And
He
those are the
boxes
ones that
out.
matter way more.
Yeah. And I think Michael Porter Jr. is like the meme where the guy in third place is like cheering and everything like that. And just like celebrating. Like, I think in his head, he thinks he's the best player on the Nuggets offense. And that kills them on certain possessions where it's like, why didn't they try to run anything? And he's just running up and shooting a three, just like contested in the flow, like heat check. He kind of makes those like Jordan Poole-esque moments where you're just like, come on, dude. Like,
yeah,
you got to move the ball around and get a better shot than that.
And I've never been a Michael Porter Jr. guy. He's my least favorite type of player who plays no defense, who doesn't pass, doesn't dribble. He just looks to get his. Like that's my least favorite type of player. But I feel like the strategy with Michael Porter Jr. should be, if he's making his 3-pointers, you can let him play. If he's not, then you bench him, because if he's not shooting, he's a net negative on defense. You're right, Griffin. He has been better as a rebounder, but I wonder how much of that is the ball has been bouncing his way. Like, I think that's more circumstantial than it is him becoming a good rebounder.
I don't think he's become a better rebounder.
No, I know that's not what you were saying. The stats are showing that he's collecting more rebounds, but you're right. He's not boxing out. He's not getting a tough rebound where it's like, oh wow, he really outmuscled Jimmy Butler to get that rebound. It's like, oh, the ball came to him and Jokic was boxing out 6 people.
And I don't think he's ever going to be that guy. And I don't even know like how much of that is because of a fundamental flaw with how he plays basketball, and how much of it is the team straight up saying, like, you have all these back issues. You probably don't want to be banging down low, which was something that at one point in his career, he was actually pretty decent at. He had a good post game, and you're never going to see him in the post ever again for a significant period of time because his back is a fucking mess. I'd play Bruce Brown more. I mean, looking at the minutes, Bruce Brown played 45 seconds longer than Michael Porter Jr. If you just flip a few minutes in the other direction,
it could swing the
probably
game,
winning that game.
Especially how bad. I think my personal thoughts is that Michael Porter Jr. should be the classic 6-man microwave scorer, where like you put him in with the second unit and you hope he can swing a game because he makes 3 straight 3-pointers in a possession. Like, basically what happened in that second quarter, I think is perfect for playing with Michael Porter Jr. You play fast and you just let him catch and shoot. And if he wins you a quarter, that could like that. That's kind of what the Heat do in a different strategy where you just hope that you can get hot for a quarter and that swings the game.
Yeah. I mean, I don't disagree with the idea behind it. I mean, with things like that, it's always, what is the agreed upon starting rotation? Like, what's the deal that you've made with these players? Because we see this time after time, and it's like, why won't so-and-so come off the bench? Why is so-and-so not slotted into the starting rotation? And the answer more often than not is the coach or the GM made a commitment to this guy, and they made a commitment to this guy's agent that this was how we're going to play the roster. But you're in the NBA finals. Your bag is not going to get fucked up based on how the coach determines that they're going to play the roster. You could be a DMP for 7 games in the finals. Your team made the finals. You're probably still going to get the bag. You're still going to get your accolades. You're still going to get a ring. At a certain point, you got to let shit like that go. Granted, I'm not an NBA player. I have my level of ego. It's not an NBA player level of ego.
And if it's one of those things where like you play him for the first 3 minutes of the game so we can say that he started and then you get him out, like that's fine. I feel like they care more about the fact
it's
that
the inverse Tyler Hero. Tyler Hero played 35 minutes a game, but he came off the bench
player.
Yeah. And that worked for the Heat. That was one of the things that made the Heat so incredibly successful last year. Was Tyler Hero was in their closing lineups and he was crushing bench units. So there was never a point where they didn't have a high caliber scorer on the court. Do that. Like we've seen that work. Do that. James Harden with the Thunder, high caliber scorer that came off the bench, and the team looked the best they ever would with him doing that.
The luxury of having someone like that. That's kind of what the Rockets did. They always had one of Chris Paul or James Harden on the floor. So they always had elite point guard play on the floor at all times. And I mean, that's the luxury to have someone, a superstar, just annihilate bench units is, I think, even more pronounced in the playoffs when the bench units could only play like 8 minutes. And if you can crush those 8 minutes, like that literally is the difference between winning and losing.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those rare times where I wish real life was a little bit more like 2K. Because like whenever you play 2K, when you fuck around with your lineups before the beginning of the game, make yourself a little bit bigger up front, or maybe get a shooter out there that you wouldn't otherwise have. It's always a good idea to, if you're not playing like no injuries, no stamina, so that you can just play your starters the whole time, put one of your better scorers as your 6-man and get them in there against bench units, and you'll just score the entire time your starters aren't on the court. But obviously that doesn't take into account contracts and egos and everything else. So it's neither here nor there.
It's funny because it's like, all right, we'll play you 15 minutes and you have the green light every one of those 15 minutes, or you have to play a role if you're a starter. Like, which one would you rather do? It's like, I'm shocked that more players aren't just like, yeah, I want to be the number one when I'm on the court, because that's essentially what he would be.
It's the idea of being a starter and being one of the top 5. I mean, look, it worked out great for Jamal Crawford and Jordan Clarkson and a lot of those other guys, Lou Williams, but a lot of instances, those guys also wanted to be starters. They just didn't fit the roster. Like, who are you going to, on those Clippers teams, who are you going to start Lou Will over when you've got CP3 and Blake and JJ Redick and DeAndre Jordan? Like, yeah, maybe you start him over JJ Redick, but JJ Redick makes way more sense next to CP3 than he does by himself.
Yeah, automatic 3-pointer who will play defense and hustle and play the role.
And then start a good podcast and be handsome on TV.
How you're talking about, it's like, just get 2 of your superstars with role players like Jokic and Murray that are like the primary scoring guys, and then have like another scoring threat come out with the second unit. Yeah, you're right. It's the way that it's structured, and
I mean, that's what we see it every year with the teams that win. Isn't necessarily always the most talented team. It's the team that has the most buy-in. I mean, the teams that are running multiple big rotations where they've got each big playing 16 to 20 minutes per game or something like that. I mean, very recently, go back to the 2020 Lakers and go through each series and how much guys' minutes are changing around. And it's guys that have like done things in the league. But because they were able to throw a ton of different lineups out there, they were able to win a title, and they were able to make it look pretty easy. But it's you know, if you're a young team, if you're this current Celtics team, or you're the Clippers team where everyone's on these big money contracts and they were all really big acquisitions and stuff like that, it's hard to swing shit like that, because that's not why guys want to be there.
Yeah, I mean, the Warriors' death lineup wasn't their starting lineup. It was when we need. It was basically their cheat. They're like trump card. Okay, we need
Iguodala's willingness to be a bench guy won them at the very minimum 2 titles, because they won the 2015 and it won them it helped them win the last year title. Yeah.
Yeah,
he wasn't even playing that much, but he was like willing to be a mentor for the team. Yeah, I mean, biggest fraud Finals MVP. Absolutely agreed.
Yeah,
not Curry.
Actually, I don't know if that's true. I'm sure there's probably been other Finals MVP that didn't deserve it, but I'm not going to go litigate the 1970s.
It's like giving it to like a Chiefs cornerback in like the past Super Bowl.
I know.
It's like, oh, yeah.
But to an even like worse degree, because I mean, one of the other guys was LeBron James and one was Steph Curry. Yeah. Even Steph Curry having a kind of not amazing series was more deserving than Iguodala.
It's like
LeBron was the most deserving of everybody.
Yeah,
it's like should Caleb Martin have been the Eastern Conference player of whatever? It's because he scored 24 points in Game 7. Like that's what Jimmy Butler averaged essentially.
Yeah, Caleb Martin averaged 19 points per game after averaging, like in his career he'd averaged like 8 points. Like great, that jump is incredible. Jimmy Butler was the primary focal point on offense and defense for the entire team for essentially 45 and a half minutes a game.
That's a lot harder.
That's not even like if we're not going to give it to Jimmy Butler at that point, just give it to Spo. Like, don't even give it to a player, because those are the 2 guys that deserve it.
Yeah. So at this point, just to kind of round it out, are we still all Nuggets? We think Nuggets win?
Yeah, I'm taking Nuggets in 5 still to hold on my take for the prediction on the podcast and our group chat.
I don't recall what I said in episode 1, if I said 5 or 6, but
I re-listened to it. I said, me and Fantino said 5, you said 6.
Okay, then I'm sticking with Nuggets in 6.
I think,
and if we come back next week and the Heat are up in the series
3-2 or 3-3, yeah.
I was the closest.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. That is true. I was listening. Zach Lowe had Stephen Jones on his podcast, and he took the Heat in 6, which I was like floored by.
There's a couple guys that took the Heat in 6 or 7. Like it wasn't I know that we talk like it was like a universally agreed thing that the Nuggets were going to smash them. There are a couple pundits that do seem to believe, like, I don't even know if it's necessarily that they believe in the Heat or don't believe in the Nuggets, or if they're just like, there's black magic at play. This is a team of destiny. I'm not going to root against them, which is, I mean, that's an understandable reason. Like, if you think a team is a team of destiny, let them have it. Like, that could be what this team is.
And I'm really excited to get the you can't win with Jokic at center takes that have been dormant the entire playoff run.
Yeah.
I mean, I was the leader of that take prior to this playoff run. So it's me just shoving egg in my face, but that is 100% going to happen if they lose.
If he completely tanks games 3 through 7, hypothetically, then we can, I guess, have a conversation about that take. But if the Nuggets lose and Jokic is still like a transcendent player, and I see those takes on Twitter, I'm deactivating my Twitter. Like, I'm Elon Musk can have it. I'm done with it.
And the funny thing is, the 36 points in the fourth quarter, not a single human being has said they targeted Jokic on defense in that fourth quarter. Like, that wasn't how they. They're
largely not doing that.
That's my point. Like, that's not what they're doing.
Yeah. Granted, that was the story on them in the regular season, and yeah, I mean, his effort has gone up, and he's playing much better defense. And the entire playoff run, if you were targeting Jokic, he was probably going to make it a tough night for you.
Yeah, you were cooking him. Like, even with the past 2 playoff runs with the Suns and the Warriors.
Yeah,
I mean, they're not doing Jokic isn't getting taken advantage of this playoff run at all, like he was the previous 2.
Yeah. Absolutely. Ferentinos, you said in 5. Moda, did you say 5 or 6?
I didn't say anything. I was hoping to prevent to just delay this as long as possible because I have no idea. I still really think the Nuggets win. I don't know how long. Like, the Heat are going to win 4-3, and I'm going to say, well, if there was a 9-game series, the Nugget, like, the Heat wouldn't keep shooting like this. But I'm going to say with the Nuggets, I'm going to go in 6.
Oh my God! If the Heat win 4-3, everyone's going to be like, "Well, if these teams played each other 1,000 times,
yeah,
the Nuggets would win 600 of them." And it's like, okay, but why would they do that? That
but
sounds
it doesn't.
awful.
But they don't. Yeah.
Would you see like the NBA on TNT is going to host the Lakers versus Celtics Cancun? I get higher ratings in the finals.
I'm so glad the Celtics are not in this finals, but I'm still not over the Lakers getting bounced, even though this like still exceeded expectations by so much. I'm just such a I'm selfish. I'm envious. I'm envious.
Even when your team is supposed to lose, it's you're never just like, well, that was a hard fought. Like, it still sucks.
Yeah. I mean, and it's even with like teams that are like right now, the Nats are like a really bad team, right? And they're supposed to finish with 60 wins this season, and they're way ahead of that projection. But they're gonna regress, and they're probably gonna finish between 60 and 70. They could be playing the best team in the MLB, and I'm still going to watch a game and be pissed off when they lose the game, which I know, like 162 games, that's a lot of time to be pissed off. But I just can't stop myself.
Fanhood. That's fanhood.
It is. That's fanhood. That's obsession. That's mental health issues. That's bad stuff.
You want to go there?
Yeah. Anything else you guys want to touch on before we get out of here?
Nope, just that you all better wear Dallas Cowboys and Brooklyn Nets jerseys when I die and let me down in my casket, because those teams have let me down my whole life.
Let you down one last time. I'm not gonna do either of those things. I'll toast you at your
well, you said maybe. You were going when Vino goes, so I hope I make it past.
I've said that to a lot of people in the past week. I don't know why that keeps coming up.
I have no idea why.
I don't know. Maybe my impending doom. Maybe I can feel it. I don't know. If the Heat make this comeback, then maybe that's going to be what does it for me. We will be back again next week.
It's only 1-1.
Yeah, it's true. We'll be back same time, same station next week. Like I said at the top of the show, whatever platform you're watching us on or listening to us, make sure you click the like button, make sure you follow or subscribe. And if you have any thoughts on the podcast or anything you want us to touch on in a future episode, comment below and let us know. We will see you next time.
Adios.
Peace.
Go Heat.